To me, a good robot vacuum has to meet a few different criteria. While powerful, it shouldn't be too complicated to understand and use. While I do need it to have a ton of features, it would be really nice if it didn't take up too much space. And honestly, when it comes to putting something like this permanently in the home, it should look pretty good. And I think I finally have one here that seems to hit all of those points. Hey, it's Josh of Vergara. What's going on, everybody? Here are my top 5 features of the Roborock Saros 10. Roborock is partnering with me again to talk about their latest innovations in their robot vacuum lineup, which I already had the chance to check out at CES, but now I actually have one of these new vacuums right here in my own house. I did use it for a while in my partner's place when it first arrived, but it wasn't hard for me to bring it over to my family home here where, dare I say, there might be more than a few further obstacles for it to tackle. Which brings me to my first favorite feature of the Roborock Saros 10, just how minimal it manages to be without sacrificing on the feature set. Getting the full unit and the base station from one place to another has been quite easy, with the base station managing to be pretty low profile and light enough to carry. Even with its more diminutive size, the base station is still highly capable. It comes with clean and dirty water tanks, a dust bag below it, and there are extra abilities further in that I will cover a little bit later in this video. Tucking the entire setup in the corner of a room is easy enough, as the Saros 10 doesn't get too high or too far out to be distracting or become an obstacle in and of itself. And then you get a look at the actual vacuum itself. The Saros 10 is relatively just as low profile as its base station at just 7.98 centimeters, which means a lot because it helps with the vacuum's cleaning abilities, especially because it can literally retract its LDS module to achieve that super low profile. There are still all of the sensors that the vacuum would require for smart navigation, and I will dive more into them soon, but just know that the short and small profile of basically everything that's included in the Saros 10 package already makes it an easy recommendation for anyone with a smaller space or just the need to keep things as minimal as possible. And controlling the vacuum is easy with the companion app, which you'll notice actually has a high rating in the Play Store and the App Store. Obviously, this app will be required for setting up the vacuum, but it is also the gateway to all of the features that the Saros 10 provides. Now that being said, while it might be chock full of settings that can be toggled for various scenarios, you actually can just go into the vacuum, head down to where you would change the different cleaning modes, and go over to Smart Plan, and you just let the smarts of the robot vacuum make all the right decisions for whatever the home might have. Usually the first run is for quick mapping, which then gives you a bird's eye view of your floor, which you can then tweak or use in order to cater the cleaning cycles to your liking, including spot and zone cleaning. You can set whether you want mopping to be done or just go with straight vacuuming. You can also set if you want double mopping to be done for peskier areas that the robot vacuum notices. If you want it to rise up on the carpet, you can make sure it does that. And then if you want to take control yourself and use the Saros 10 as a roaming camera of sorts, you can do that too. All of the capabilities of the vacuum can be accessed by the app, meaning that it can be as involved or as simple as you want it to be. And that makes for quite the personalized experience, which makes the Saros 10 really feel like a proper cleaning companion. And with that, we get the vacuum on the move. As it says in the app in the initial setup, you'll still want to move things out of the way or at least shift some items on the floor around to make the path of the vacuum easier. All that said, the Saros 10 has a ton of tools to make its navigation super smart, from a sensor array that includes that retractable LDS module to reactive AI that can recognize objects on the floor and act upon them accordingly. The Retract Sense feature is clearly very cool, but it doesn't mean that the vacuum loses its sensing ability when the LDS module is down. There's a wide-angle vision area on the back that still allows the retracted LDS module to do its thing in a wide beam behind the vacuum, while the front sensor and camera are also wide enough to provide sufficient coverage. And then there is the top contact sensor called the Vertibeam that will recognize those low clearances to know when the Retract Sense has to trigger. That all makes the Saros 10 capable of reaching places that might have been tougher in the past with other robot vacuums. When something else just happens to be in the way, however, the Saros 10 can easily navigate it all with the combination of sensors and cameras that I just mentioned. The array allows the vacuum to recognize objects in the nick of time and judge the distance well enough so that it can clean right up to that item and then move around, making for a more comprehensive clean all around. It's cool to see it get right up to something even if it just popped in the way, and the Saros 10 adjusts accordingly in a quick manner. So it's got the smart vision to support all of the bits and pieces working together down here to get this floor cleaned up. Turning over the Saros 10 reveals all of the different tools at its disposal once it is out cleaning. There are a few items here that you might be familiar with in the world of robot vacuums, but they've all been enhanced to make things easier on both it and, honestly, you. Case in point, the main brush here in the middle that helps scoop everything up. In other vacuums that I've used, this part tended to tangle due to a mixture of long hair that might be all over the place, and sometimes because of the carpet fabric on the larger carpets here in the home. Now, because of the duo divide system, the two brushes move in opposite directions so that the collected hair comes into the middle, detangles from either side, only to be sucked up into the dustbin. No more taking a blade or scissors to the main brush over and over to detangle it yourself. The side brush is also there, and its curved design minimizes tangles while helping to pick through any side debris and then put it into the way of the main unit. Speaking of the side brushes, there's a side mop that works independently to help with edge cleaning. It literally rises and retracts as needed when floor and wall edges come into play. And finally, there's the mop, which is on the back portion of the vacuum, which helps to absorb any spills and lift up any stains on hard floors, which can be helped along with the feature I mentioned before about the robot going back to those harder areas and mopping it again. Normally, you'd probably have to swap and replace that mop constantly, but the feature that I said I'd talk about that is deeper in the base station comes in here, and that's because the mop can actually become automatically detached from the Saros 10 to be cleaned on its own and to continue drying after that when the robot goes back out just for vacuuming. However, back in this base station, the mop actually gets cleaned using the clean water from the base station tank. And yet furthermore, that water can get heated up to 80 degrees Celsius to really freshen up that mop. So that way the mop itself doesn't get like a sticky or crusty like texture to it. And ultimately it won't become less capable after running various cycles with the Saros 10. I'm usually in like hard floor dwellings, and even though spills are really rare, they do happen. So it's good that the Roborock Saros 10 can not only take care of those situations, but it can also basically take care of itself after the clean is done. And last but not least, my favorite feature of the Saros 10 is just how good it is at vacuuming in general. 22,000 Pascal units of suction make this one of the most powerful vacuums in general, not even just robotic. In tandem with all the tools I just talked about, it makes for a really good clean no matter how much stuff you might have on the floor. But one particular scenario has been a real chore, pun intended, to actually handle, and it is high carpet cleaning. As you can see here, I have one in the living room in front of the TV, and it is here that robot vacuums have always cried out for help when their wheels couldn't navigate the terrain or the main brush would feel or seem all tangled up due to the higher pill. Well, there's a feature called Adaptive Lift that the Saros 10 literally uses to rise above these issues and raise the chassis up to 4 centimeters higher to get over obstacles like door jams or just to move on thicker carpet. And once you have your map set up with your various zones and characteristics all set, you can actually tell the Saros 10 to prioritize the carpets first in its cleaning cycle, leaving the detachable mop in the base station to be picked up afterwards so as to avoid getting much moisture on the rugs. But that Adaptive Lift rising ability is already super worthwhile, making the Saros 10 the only robot vacuum I have used so far that can brave the large carpet areas with ease. And so, there you have it. You've heard a lot of different terms that make up the Saros 10's feature set, but they're all just tools that help make this quite the self-efficient robot vacuum. You can go as deep into the features as you want or just set it and forget it. And I think that's the beauty of what Roborock has made here in the Saros 10. Sure, in my case, effective thick carpet cleaning was always going to be an automatic win, but sometimes one good capability can make all the difference. But beyond that, what makes this vacuum so nice is the great deal of thought that Roborock put into the Saros 10 in order to support the few essential things that it has to do well: mop effectively, vacuum strongly, and navigate intelligently. Once again, thanks to Roborock for partnering up with me again and for letting me use the Saros 10 in my home. Let me know your thoughts on this robot vacuum in the comments downstairs, hit that like button, and subscribe to my channel for more. From there though, I'm going to go ahead and call it on this one. Thank you so much for hanging out with me again today. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and enjoy your tea, everybody.